Well, I am Lee Doughty. My story about this whole process is a number of years ago I was over at a store north of Seattle. As I walked out, I saw this big sign across the street said pawn shop. I said, I haven't been in one of those things in about 100 years. I think I'll go ahead and just see what they got. So I go inside this place, and as I go through the door, I stop dead. There's this great big wall full of 3 rows of electric guitars. I didn't know what to think about all those guitars. About that time, this funny little guy runs up to me and says, "Oh, sir, are you interested in an electric guitar?" I said, "Well, I don't know anything about them. I've never even touched one." "Oh, sir, you look like the sort of fella ought to have himself a guitar." What a line. So I'm still standing there looking at these things, and finally I asked him, I said, "Well, how much do they cost?" He said, "Oh, they start at about $70 over at that corner, and they're a couple of $1,000 by the time they get over to that corner." So I'm still just standing there looking at these things, not sure what to do. Well, he said, "Sir, why don't you just hold one and see how it feels?" And so I'm thinking, well, maybe I'll just hold one of those cheap ones. So I picked one of the $70 ones over there. It was gray thing that didn't look too beat up. So he hands it to me, and he immediately plugs it into an amp, and I'm standing there going, "Twang, twang, twang." I haven't got a clue what I'm doing. The thing's not tuned. Who knows what that amp was. And he, "Oh, sir, you got a real touch for that guitar. You better get it and take it home with you." So I'm amused by the guy. I finally said, "That's only $70. I'll just take it home and see what happens." So I brought it home and went over this really nice little music store we got here in Port Townsend called Crossroads Music. And the guy in there showed me how to string it and how to tune it. And he says, "Boy, that's a nice guitar you got there." I said, "What?" He says, "Yeah, it's a Washburn guitar. A lot of the old-time blues players wouldn't play anything but Washburn guitars." So, yeah, you got a real bargain there. I couldn't believe it. The guy in the pawn shop didn't know what he had. Well, I took it home and started trying to teach myself how to play guitar. And too cheap to pay somebody. And besides, I wanted my own sound, So that first year was horrible. Horrible. I can't tell you how bad that was. And the second year really wasn't all that much better, but I'm a pretty stubborn fella, and I get banging on it. And gradually began to get better. And then I was thinking, well, what am I going to play on this thing? Well, I had a lot of pieces of paper laying around the house that I had scribbled things on it over the years, so I looked through some of them, and I found a couple of things where I'd written some lyrics for something years ago, and I saw other stuff. I thought, well, I think I could probably put music to this and do something, which is what I did. And then I started buying cheapo equipment. I've got the cheapest recording setup in the world. I'll have to apologize for the quality of the stuff you hear on here. But anyhow, I was able to come up with some songs and recorded them a number of times, actually, because I had so many problems with it. And then eventually I added a couple other things. I got a couple of books on there that I wrote, and I got a few guitar solos that I did. And I suppose I'll probably think of other bright ideas as we go along. But that's what I got at this moment. And if you ever want to use any of my stuff, I'd really appreciate it if you would attribute it to me. That's my ego, that I'd like people to know that, yeah, I did this. And of course, if you like this site, be sure to tell 10,000 of your best friends about it. If you don't like this site, don't say anything to anybody. So I think that's enough talk.